Lo and behold, a year and a half later, we're finally standing in my ADU. It's no longer just my detached garage, but now it's a fully framed out, ready to go, still a lot more time left, but building that someone can eventually live in. A year and a half has passed since we actually decided to go ahead and move forward with this project. The idea happened a while back, but from the actual planning and pre-construction process to about a month ago took quite a bit of time before we started breaking ground. Since we've broken ground, things have felt like they've gone extremely fast, which is pretty cool. But in this video, I'm going to go over the pre-construction process, obviously give a little bit of a tour, and go over some of the issues that have already come up with the build and how we're trying to overcome those. But first, it'd be awesome if you could scroll down and make that thumbs up button blue. It'd make me very happy. Currently, I'm standing in the fully framed house. There are a few things left to do, but it is probably 90 to 95% framed. The roof is starting to go in, utilities are going to start to come in, plumbing lines, HVAC, electrical, all of that good stuff. But things are really moving here before we can start getting to some of that finish work. But of course, each of those trades are going to have their own inspections, and that's going to take a little bit of time. But if you're someone who walks by the street and looks at the actual ADU, it looks like it went up really fast, but probably for the next 2 to 3 months, it will look like just about nothing is happening from their perspective. Talking a little bit about the pre-construction process, it will probably be very different compared to a lot of people out there because this property is in a historic district. So I had to adhere to the rules of the historic district, which is like adhering to the rules of the worst HOA that you could possibly imagine. Essentially, I had to make the building look similar to other historic buildings in the neighborhood, which apparently my house looks like one, even though it has a lot of non-historically contributing materials associated with it. But that's the way that it goes. And I had to submit plans to the historic district and then wait 2 months before my first hearing, which got denied. Changed up the plans a little bit, and then 2 more months went by before I could go to another hearing. Those much more easily got approved after I got some legitimate feedback, because at the beginning they don't really tell you what they want. They want you to bring something to them and then tell you whether it's good or not. And even before we submitted to the historic district, also had to work with an architect to get designs. That took a few months because it's definitely a unique space, because we also had to adhere to the current footprint of the building, and that's because we didn't want to tear down the whole thing. So you can maybe tell, but the wall behind me is the old garage. So 3 of the walls are from the old garage, and where the garage doors were, that's going to be its own new wall. And that's because we did not want to have to tear the whole thing down and adhere to the setback rules, which means we'd have to go in 6 feet from 2 of the walls, because those are neighboring property lines, because you're supposed to be 6 feet away from your neighbors. But I didn't have to do that as long as we kept the original walls that were here. Finally got approved, and then I was able to submit those plans to the city. The city had a few other issues, like for example, we had windows on the walls that are on my property lines, but you're not allowed windows within 3 feet of a property line. So I had to get rid of those, add some skylights instead, because it's good to have windows in a property and not have no windows. So that was another thing, and it took almost 3 or 4 months to actually get these plans approved from the city, and then it took another week or so in order to actually get that permit so that I could start doing work. And then it was around the end of May before they actually broke ground. And I submitted those original plans to the historic district in September of 2023, and that was May of 2024. And other than that one issue of the windows, a couple of things did go wrong with the pre-construction in terms of the design. The designer we were working with, I did not really like. I actually think he was the worst part so far of this whole project, and that's because we had a vision, and Mia's really good with SketchUp and actually creating a whole rendering. So she created an entire rendering of the property, and we also had various designs that we took from other Instagram pages and other ADUs that had been built. Basically gave him what we thought was a really easy thing to follow. Obviously he had to make it fit to the footprint of the building that we had, but oftentimes we would ask for something to be slightly changed, and he would go and change that thing, but then change a ton of other things without saying what they were, and then we'd have to catch them, and we obviously didn't catch all of them, so some of those are actually coming up right now in the framing process. All that is to say, make sure that your architect isn't a huge egotistical person that will actually work with you. I don't think that I'm very annoying. Maybe I am, because I like things done a certain way, but it was very frustrating when they would make changes and not say what they were. The other thing that really screwed us up, and this was the surveyor's fault in my opinion, but also the construction company could have definitely verified that the measurements were correct, and I'll show a little bit more about the upstairs where it's a bigger issue, but down here also a little bit of an issue was the building footprint showed the wrong dimensions. So it said that it was 24 feet 1 inch in depth, and I believe about 23 feet wide. they got the width correct, but the depth, they were off by 1 whole foot, which will obviously change the design. And because this is only a 750 to 770 square foot property, that means every single foot really matters, and it really mattered for our design and our mock-up that we created, because we plan on using this as a furnished rental, and we didn't just want to put it out there. We wanted to make it functional, really nice. It's in a really awesome neighborhood, so we wanted to add some cool touches, so it will be a really nice place for people to rent. As we start doing a tour, I'll just mention some of the issues that we had. You can see this is the full kitchen area. There's some of the plumbing lines as well as electrical popping out from the ground, and the slab that was put in was really nice. It's actually already pretty cozy in here for only just being framed out. But in the back, we have a storage area which is behind the kitchen, which is why we didn't go all the way to the end, because before you had to keep under 800 square feet for an ADU. Recently, it changed to be over just under 1,200 square feet, which would have actually been larger than the main house. So I don't think that would have been approved anyway. And I would have had to start the process all over again, and it probably would have been 6 more months. So it really wasn't worth it anyway to get out what I wanted to get out of this project. But that whole storage area in the back, which was meant for other things and furniture and whatnot for the main house, ended up not being as wide as it was, and only we lost a foot. Sounds like not very much, but it actually makes a huge difference, because again, it was exactly very specific for the furniture and things that we wanted to store in there. The other thing that happened is, against these 2 windows here, we plan to put a banquette. I built the exact same thing for the cabin Airbnb that I have, and we wanted to just recreate the same thing because it's a smaller space. We want to have it cozy and seating in an area that is very much just put in the corner and out of the way, but also still feels big, which was easy to accomplish with this banquette style. But for some reason, the designer decided to change the height of the window that is on one of the walls, but not the other wall, and I didn't catch it in the actual design. So this is one of the issues that came up because he decided to do his own thing. And the annoying thing is, if you actually look at the design plans, it's only 4 siding planks up on both sides, the front and the side wall. So on the actual mock-up, it looks like they are the same height. But if you look at the specific numbers in the fine print, you will read that they are different. Now, luckily, this will get changed, but just one of those frustrating things that can happen, and things always seem to happen in a real estate project. The kitchen will be pretty simple. We'll have our cabinets, we'll do some open shelving, as well as we'll have this laundry closet over here. So it's going to be a pretty functional space downstairs for more of your dining, potentially do some hosting. So it's a good little space. And then we can go up the stairs to get to the upstairs. We were originally planning to have a closet at the bottom of the stairs, but that was against the rules because you need to have a certain clearance between where you have a door that opens and the bottom of the staircase. And the way that everything was fitting, it wouldn't work. So we just had to completely scrap that closet. Upstairs is pretty simple. And again, we were very methodical with the layout. We wanted to make sure that we could fit a king bed in. We also wanted to do a cool fireplace wall and make sure we could have a TV in the area and a couch while still all fitting everything. And we also wanted to have a double 72-inch vanity and a decent sized shower. And we are really able to achieve the bedroom having a king bed as well as nightstands on each side, a decent sized closet, as well as that bathroom. And the living room was going to work out pretty well, which you can see right here is a decent sized space. But again, we lost that 1 foot, and that really doesn't sound like a lot, but when it comes to having a couch and having space to actually walk around that furniture, which is the big thing, we definitely lost some room. So we are planning on changing things up a little bit. The 2 windows against the 1 wall in the living room was planning to be a fireplace on the bottom with a TV on top. But now we are going to do it a little bit differently and put the TV against this bathroom wall, move the framing over, and still put the fireplace on that 1 window wall. But we did lose some room, so the trim and stuff is going to look a little bit different, and we're still figuring all that out. But upstairs is actually going to be a really cool functional space. The toilet being a little bit out of the way is really awesome. We had to keep that window there, which I wanted to do tempered glass or a little bit shorter, but the the historic district actually made it so I had to have that full-size window, and the toilet originally was in front of the window, which wouldn't have been awesome, but that's the way that they wanted to have it set up. So we were able to change that up a little bit and make it much more functional. And we're gonna have that desk space at the top of the stairs. And overall, it's probably going to work out okay, but it was definitely frustrating knowing we lost an entire foot because the surveyor was wrong. The designer didn't confirm anything. No one in the construction company confirmed everything, but at least I caught it before they moved too far forward. I know it looks like magic, but all I did was change, and it's actually the next day because as I was filming this, a bunch of workers came at 6 p.m. and started doing stuff, so I had to stop. But that really is it. That's the whole project, and I'll definitely share more updates as we go. Next is going to be all of the actual rough-ins like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, all of that stuff. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm very excited to see it progress, and then it'll go really fast once the actual finish starts to happen. That's really when you see a project come to life, so I'm definitely excited about that piece. So it should probably be done in about 6 months from now-ish, which sounds like a long time given how the actual home looks today, but that's typically about how long it's going to take. If it were a new build, it actually would have been a little bit easier, but because we had this existing structure to deal with, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed that. And if you do have an ADU project, or you're looking to purchase or sell your home, definitely reach out to me because I can help with construction or any real estate services you may need, as I'm a realtor in the Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina area, and I also know a decent bit about investing. So if you have a question, feel free to comment down below or DM me on Instagram. Usually pretty good about getting back on those. So thanks again for watching, and more wealth is coming your way.